Welcome to the Science Experience podcast, where we explore the latest and most exciting papers and preprints in science.
And today we have a really fascinating one.
Well, we do, but before we jump in, a quick reminder, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this deep dive with friends and family. This really supports the Science Experience.
It really does.
Okay, so today we are diving into something that I think fundamentally changes how we think about aging.
It absolutely does. We're moving away from this idea of aging as just, simple wear and tear.
Like a car slowly rusting away.
Exactly. This new research suggests aging is more like an active, programmed evolutionary choice.
And we're basing this on a powerful new study just out in late 2024 that uses the tiny nematode worm C. elegans.
Right, and it pinpoints a molecular switch that seems to govern this huge trade-off. Do you live long or do you reproduce?
So the central idea is that the body's reproductive system, the germline, is actively telling the rest of the body, the somato, to stop repairing itself.
In a way, yes. To stop repairing itself as efficiently once the main job of creating offspring is underway. It's a resource allocation problem.
Okay, so you're saying the body has a budget.
Precisely. And a key place this budget cut happens is with our mitochondria.
The powerhouses of the cell.
Right, they generate energy through oxidative phosphorylation, or OX-phos. And when they get stressed or damaged, they need to call for help.
And what does that distress call look like at a cellular level?
It's a specific pathway called the mitochondrial unfolded protein response, or UPRmt.
UPRmt, got it.
Think of it like a dedicated 911 dispatch for your mitochondria. When they're in trouble, a signal goes to the cell's nucleus.
To the main command center.
And it tells the DNA, hey, we need more repair proteins out here. Fire up survival genes like HSP6. A strong UPRmt means healthy, stress-resistant mitochondria.
So this UPRmt is like the cell's internal maintenance crew.
A very specialized one, yes. And here's the key observation from the paper. In young worms, during their larval development, this maintenance crew is working overtime. The UPRmt is incredibly active.
Makes sense, you're building a body.
But the moment the worm becomes a reproductive adult, that response just plummets. It's like the dispatch center gets its funding slashed overnight.
And that's right when age-related mitochondrial problems start to appear.
It lines up almost perfectly. The body seems to deprioritize its own maintenance as soon as it starts prioritizing making babies.
That is the trade-off right there. But the researchers asked a really wild question, didn't they? Could they turn that maintenance crew back on?
Exactly. They ran a really counterintuitive experiment. They made extracts, basically cellular smoothies or lysates, from C. elegans embryos.
So from the absolute youngest stage of life.
Yes. And they fed these embryo lysates to adult worms that had already lost that strong UPRmt response.
They fed them baby worm juice.
That's one way to put it. And get this, It worked. The adult worms that ingested the embryo lysates suddenly had their UPRmt reactivated.
No way.
Yes. When they then hit these worms with a mitochondrial stressor, like the drug antimycin, which blocks complex 3 of OX-phos.
A huge stress on the system.
The worms that ate the young lysate had dramatically better survival. The maintenance crew was back on the job.
And I have to ask, did they try it with lysates from old worms?
They did, and it did absolutely nothing. The effect was specific to the embryo extracts. Whatever this magic ingredient was, it was a feature of youth.
So this youth factor literally restarts the cell's repair systems. What did that do for the worm's actual lifespan?
It gave them a pretty significant lifespan extension, around 20% longer than the controls.
Just from eating this extract?
Just from that. It proved that you could reintroduce something from youth to restart these crucial maintenance programs that the body had turned off.
Okay, so the billion-dollar question. What was the molecule? A protein? A lipid?
Well, the first big clue was that it was RNA-dependent. If they treated the lysate with an enzyme that chews up RNA, the entire effect vanished.
It's a message, not a building block.
That's a great way to think about it. And they eventually narrowed it down to a specific class of small RNAs called PiRNAs, PIWI interacting RNAs.
PiRNAs, and those are almost exclusively made in the germline, in the reproductive tissue.
That's what makes this so elegant. These tiny RNA molecules, which are usually involved in protecting the genome for the next generation, are also being sent out to the rest of the body to tell it how to manage its own stress response. It's a direct communication line for the reproductive system to the body.
Which brings us to the next obvious question. If young PiRNAs are the on switch for the repair crew,
What's the off switch? What does the adult germline use to shut it all down?
Exactly. What's the molecular memo that says, okay, maintenance, you're done here?
To figure that out, They screened for signals that are known to travel from the germline to the soma, and they landed on a pathway that looked a lot like the mammalian hedgehog signaling pathway.
Hedgehog, the one that's super important for embryonic development.
The very same. In the worm, it uses these specific ligands, these signals called WRT5 and WRT6, and they're received by receptors in the body called PTR8 and PTR16.
So if this hedgehog-like signal is the off switch, what happens if you just block it, if you cut the wire?
That was the moment of truth in the study. When they used RNAi to knock down those genes, either the WRT signals or the PTR receptors in adult worms, it completely reactivated the UPRmt spontaneously. They didn't need the embryo lysate anymore.
So just by telling the germline to, shut up, the body's repair systems immediately fired back up on their own.
Precisely. The adult body wants to keep repairing itself. It's just being actively told not to.
And we know where the message is coming from and where it's going?
We do. The WRT5 and 6 signals are sent from the germline, the reproductive tissue, and they're received primarily in the intestine, the main metabolic hub of the worm, by the PTR receptors.
So the reproductive system is telling the worm's digestive and energy system, hey, stop spending energy on repairs. We need that fuel for making eggs.
You've just perfectly summarized the disposable soma theory of aging.
The idea that we have a finite amount of energy and evolution favors putting that energy into the germline for the next generation, even at the expense of our own body, the soma.
And this hedgehog signal is the molecular manager making that budget decision in real time.
Okay, so let's talk about the price. If you cheat the system and block that signal, you get a longer, healthier life. What's the cost?
The benefit was huge. Up to a 30% lifespan extension, better mitochondrial function, the works.
But there's no free lunch in evolution.
Not at all. The cost was fertility. It was a massive hit. Worms with a suppressed hedgehog signal had a greatly reduced brood size. They just couldn't make as many offspring.
So the budget is real.
Absolutely.
Well,
they even saw lower levels of a key yolk protein gene called VEAT2. The body, by focusing on its own maintenance, was failing to properly invest in the next generation. It's a zero-sum game.
And it's a very specific game, too. You mentioned it wasn't a general boost to all stress responses.
Right, that's a critical detail. This signal specifically shuts down the mitochondrial repair crew, the UPRmt. Other stress responses, like for the ER or from heat shock, were pretty much left alone.
It's a targeted surgical budget cut aimed right at the cell's energy supply.
Exactly.
So this is all fascinating in worm. But now the big question. Why should you, our listener, care? Is this ancient evolutionary bargain still happening in us?
That is the critical question. So the researchers moved into mice. They used an FDA-approved drug called itraconazole.
What does that do?
It's known to be a potent inhibitor of the hedgehog signaling pathway. So they're essentially recreating the worm experiment in a mammal.
Blocking that stop repairing yourself signal.
And they saw a stunningly similar trade-off. The mice on the drug showed increased expression of their own mitochondrial stress response genes, better cellular maintenance.
That's the benefit. What about the cost?
The cost was there too. Both male and female mice had decreased fertility. The females had smaller litters, and they saw drops in key reproductive hormones like AMH and testosterone.
Wow. So the trade-off is conserved from a worm to a mammal. That's a huge evolutionary distance.
It's immense. It suggests this is a really fundamental mechanism for managing life history.
Did they find any hint of this in humans?
They did. It's correlational, of course, but they looked at huge data sets of human gene expression. In tissues like the brain and muscle, they found a consistent negative correlation.
Meaning?
Meaning that when genes in the hedgehog pathway are highly active, the genes related to mitochondrial repair, to UPRmt, tend to be suppressed.
So when the body is potentially investing in reproduction, the maintenance systems are dialed down. It's the same pattern.
It strongly suggests this ancient conversation between the germline and the soma is still happening inside our own bodies, shaping how we age.
This really does flip the script. It means some parts of aging aren't a failure of the system, but rather the system working exactly as it was programmed to.
Programmed to ensure the survival of the species, not necessarily the longest possible life for the individual.
That raises a really profound final thought.
It does. If aging is partly a programmed, actively maintained state, could we, in our post-reproductive years, safely and carefully interrupt that signal without paying the fertility cost? Because for many, that cost is no longer relevant. That's really the next frontier.
An active decision coded into us to prioritize the future. It gives a whole new meaning to getting older. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
If you enjoyed gaining this shortcut to being well-informed, please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your network. It really supports the science experience.